What's going on, guys? I want to make a shop tip video for you today that shows you how to preset the tension or the load on your slip joint back springs. And I know I actually went over this in a series of videos that I put up onto the channel about how I make a slip joint. And I don't recall exactly what number of the series it was, but I do know that the footage was really blurry and out of focus, and I don't think I really did that good of a job in the first place kind of explaining what I was doing or why I was doing it. So I kind of wanted to remake that part, try to maybe clarify some things for some people, and hopefully this will give you a better idea of what I meant there, and just give you another option as far as setting the tension on your back springs. Now, to kind of give a little bit of background on what I'm talking about here, I normally make my slip joints based off of drawings or patterns that I make, and normally I'll make a little template out of liner material or something thin that I could trace with a metal scribe onto my steel. And if you were to go strictly off the pattern or the drawing as it is here, and keep all your pinholes the same, keep your back springs straight, and all the geometry exactly like the pattern, and then if you were to put it together, there really wouldn't be any tension on the back spring to hold the blade open or closed. And just to kind of give you a visual example here, if I were to make all my parts and pieces just like this, drill all the holes straight through like they are in the drawing, and then pin the blade and back spring and everything together, there's really no preload on the spring, and it'd be really loose and floppy and just not perform well at all. So what makers will do is actually kick that spring forward to give it some tension, so that you kind of have to push back on it to line your pinholes up, and then you got some pretty good tension there for holding the blades open, closed, and at half stop and what have you. And normally what a maker will do, they'll actually cut everything out, rough cut everything out, and then kind of at the very last part of it, before they drill the back pinhole, they'll line their center holes up, drill them, and then kick the spring forward into the handle here on the far end, and that's actually what gives you your preload. Now, in doing that, if you cut your parts pretty close to the drawings or the tolerances, you're actually moving that back pinhole up about a 1/16 of an inch, as well as the whole back of the back spring itself. And some guys will leave a little bit of extra material there, which is certainly a good way to do it. And this is a tried and true method to be sure. But I like to kind of cut things a little bit more close to my tolerances, and in doing this, again, you're moving your hole off center and kind of moving your material back as well, and leaving a little bit of an open spot there. So the way I do it, it pretty much achieves the same end or the same goal, but I kind of get everything moved and positioned beforehand, before I really even complete the scribing of my template or my parts, and drill and cut them out. So I've got it partially done already here just for the sake of time. But what I'll typically do, I'll take my template or my part pretty much exactly like it would be in the drawing, just a straight, essentially unloaded spring. And I'll go ahead and trace that onto my back spring steel. And I'll trace the entire back half here, and then just the back side of the front of the back spring. And you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. I don't really do this front part yet, but I'll then mark and drill the center pinhole just to help keep everything lined up. And just a side note, these are just 1/16 inch holes. That's not the size of the pins that I'll use. They'll probably be at least 3/32 of an inch. But I found that smaller holes make it a lot easier to get either a pencil tip or a scribe in there and mark your holes accurately without, potentially tilting your scribe or getting your hole off center. So that's just a note on that. And then I got a little center punch here with the same diameter end to kind of help line everything up. So now what I'll do, I'll go ahead and pin that. And this is actually where I'll go ahead and kick the spring forward or set the pre-tension. So we'll move that about, 1/16 to maybe 3/32 of an inch. And, it really doesn't take a whole lot. You could probably even go just a little bit farther if you wanted to. But now that I've kind of rotated that, the hole on the pattern and, the back spring pattern has moved, or the template here. But the actual physical location for when I cut it out and use it on the knife has stayed stationary on the steel here. So the only thing that's really going to be moving is the front of this spring, which is what we wanted to begin with. Now, simply just take your scribe or pencil or whatever you're using. Go ahead and finish scribing around that template. And then we'll go here on the back. And there's going to be our preloaded or pre-tension spring, pretty much ready to go as soon as we cut it out. Now, one thing I will mention when you are making your slip joint, and this is standard practice, go ahead and leave some extra material on the back spring before you put it into your handle scales or your liners. As when you do tension this, it's going to kind of flex back, not to the side, but I can't really flex that now, so I'll just use the side of this as an example. But when you tension that, it'll kind of curve back like that, and you'll be left with a little bit of a gap there if you were to cut that flush. So leave a little bit of extra material to account for that, and you should be good to go. So hopefully that made sense. This is kind of putting the cart in front of the horse in a sense, based on how it's traditionally done. But I've had pretty good success with this, and this kind of keeps your pattern exactly how you want it on the back end, while really only changing the tension on the front end. So hopefully that makes sense, guys. Go ahead and try it for yourself, see how you like it. And again, as always, leave a little bit of material on the front before you go ahead and heat treat and do your final shaping and profiling. But as far as the inside here, you can pretty much take that to finished tolerances, and you should be good to go. So hope you enjoyed the tip, guys. Hopefully that made a little bit more sense than last time. And if you do have any questions, or this was confusing at all, by all means leave a comment, send me a message, and we'll try to straighten everything out. So thanks for watching.